Hi, everybody. So glad to have you with us today. As you know, my name is Adrienne Reed. I'm the co-founder of We2Bomb, formerly Brunch2Bomb, and the CEO and founder of the Hamba Group. Today, we are really starting to dive into what the world of We2Bomb looks like by expanding our programming with conversations like the one we're about to have with my dear friend and member of the We2Bomb community, Kyle Webb. It's imperative that we understand that we are more than just an expression of joy once a month. And we're more than just a party. We're more than cocktails and dances. We have a whole expression of identity that we deserve to be shared at large with those that are watching what we're doing and amongst ourselves. I think it's important to know that the people that attend We2Bomb are not just party goers, they're entrepreneurs, they're teachers, they're doctors, they're lawyers, they're judges, they're store managers, there's moms, their wives, their husbands, their sons, their fathers, and the list goes on. One moment doesn't define who we are, but that doesn't take away from the fact that we deserve that moment. Today, Kyle and I are going to have a conversation that I'm really excited about around a couple key things that kind of relate to that and our journey as entrepreneurs. But Kyle, we're having a chat. It's not just me talking, so I want to pass to you and you let the people know who you are.
Yo, Adrienne Michelle Reed. Thank you so much for
Wow.
having me. Thank you so much for having me today. This is super dope, and I'll tell you, it's been such a phenomenal journey to watch that random brunch you had for your birthday those many years ago turn into Brunch2Bomb, and how that continuation has turned into We2Bomb. But one of the things I know about you for real is that you always have the perspective of us or we in what you're doing. I remember at the very beginning, you were always looking for spots. It's like, how come there is only one spot that really wants to welcome Black folks? How can I find a Black-owned restaurant to be able to do this thing, be able to provide the food at least, right? How can I engage Black businesses so we are creating an ecosystem that works for the proverbial us? And I think that that is beautiful. For us, we always talk about this thing called parity, and you've really been committed to creating parity. Uh, but for me, I'm Kyle Webb. I'm the Chief Financial Officer of Webb Family Enterprises, and we own and operate McDonald's franchises. That makes me an entrepreneur, and I am a McDonald's franchisee of 7 restaurants myself. Again, in my family, we own and operate 16, and it's awesome that I've been able to be in a position really due to McDonald's, where my parents have acquired restaurants. They've been able to build up a business, and they've been able to transition that wealth to me and my sister, and similarly to my brother, who is a Buffalo Wild Wings franchisee. And we can really create a sort of a legacy. And so we are in an awesome place. But we always say what we do is sell hamburgers, but why we do it is to create parity. And so it's awesome that we get to be on this journey of creating parity together. And we define parity as that everybody has the same opportunity for success, and we don't view that as Black people. McKinsey Group, they said that if we invited women to participate as they would like to in the workforce, global GDP would double. That's ridiculous, but that's also the power of parity. In the United States, by 2028, GDP would grow by $1.5 trillion if we just invited Black folks to participate. Not even if we got to parity. If we just invited Black folks to more fully participate, we'd grow GDP by 1.5 trillion. That's an 8.5% growth, and for everyone, that's a growth of the pie. And so
I think that one of the things we need to talk about when we're talking about, inviting us to that table, right, is the fact that we also need to know that that table exists. And in the compliment that you share with me, a lot of the things that I am experiencing now and feeling free to pursue really were born out of the example of your family and our friendship, right? I often say, and I'm a jokey person, so it comes off in jest, but I mean it. Like, for me, and this is not gas, guys. Like, this is just what it is. Kyle's family, the Webb family, showed me that what I saw on the Cosby Show was not something that was only made for TV. It showed me that I could buy Black art, that I could support the holistic world of Black art, whether it's a sculpture in my living room, a painting on my wall, that I can listen to all sorts of jazz, that I'm not boxed into hip hop and R&B, that there's this whole world of music that I created, that is my legacy, that I can go to Africa, that Africa is not war torn and fed with starving folks, that there is more to the continent to that. And that taste of seeing that that was a reality for me is what made me so passionate about my pursuit of it. And it's just like, they say that they say that now, right? We hear representation very often. It's a buzzword. But outside of the buzz, the reality is, if I had not known Kyle or another family akin to that, I would have thought that the Cosbys are the Cosbys. It is something that I watch on TV, and it's something that I experience on TV. No one outside of that in my family is showing me that anything on TV in the sitcom world is anything more than entertainment. Black doctors married to Black lawyers and brownstones. What's happening? HBCUs, like, I'm a kid from Pomona, California, right? And so a big piece of parity, and getting to even have the opportunity to have a chance at a seat at the table, to determine if it's a table that you want to be at, to determine if you want to say, I want to sit here, or this isn't the table for me, right? First starts with understanding that that is a reality for you, that that is a possibility for you. Otherwise, you can only imagine what's within the world that's been painted for you to see. And I think that that's super duper important that we hammer into that, because I think right now what we're seeing, and Kyle, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Like, I feel like on the heels of our most recent visible social injustice that we experienced last year in the middle of the pandemic, we're seeing tons of corporations, tons of public figures double down on Black. Mm-hmm. But I know that for people like you and I, for a lot of the people that are members of the We Too Bomb community, and even for organizations like McDonald's, this isn't a new thing. We've been doing this. So welcome to the party, but let's make sure that we're doing so thoughtfully. We're not just saying, where's the largest impact? Where's the largest group of Black people where I can make a mark here so that I can get my gold star for participating in the Black Lives Matter revolution corporate side, you know? And being where you are, I'm curious what your thoughts are and what your feelings are as a Black person, right? Trying to separate yourself, church and state, for a moment, but then also as a person who is working in a framework that supports not only our short-term visibility, but our long-term resolve.
Yeah, I think the point that you made about Black folks not leaving the 2.5 mile radius outside of their community, I think is so real. And, you know, we got introduced, and for you, that helped you see that there is something outside of that 2.5 mile radius, right? And I think that working with corporations, we can help to provide more access to more opportunities. And I don't believe they know how to do it almost at all. One of the things that that I am lucky is that I'm in an organization like McDonald's. And let me tell you, McDonald's is not perfect, but one thing that they do is try, from more so than most. And I got my experience on how McDonald's has tried because my dad started as a McDonald's corporate employee. He was hired by McDonald's in 1973 in an accelerated management development program, starting essentially as an assistant manager in a restaurant. And in 7 years, he went from assistant manager in a restaurant to an executive running Southern California, as the chief person in Southern California, which was his rise was almost unheard of, especially being an African-American male, right, in the 70s, right? And so by the time the 1980s came, he had an opportunity to bring in Southern California franchisees of Latinx descent, right? When he did that, he started to do that. What he found is that sales in Southern California amongst restaurants in primarily Latinx communities started to go up. You know, it was clear, and McDonald's saw that that was a thing. Well, fast forward, my dad became a leader on the McDonald's franchisee side after he and my mom purchased restaurants in 1985. And they worked with McDonald's to create a parity agreement that they agreed to in the mid 90s, around 1995, 1996. And between 1995 and 2000, McDonald's agreed that as a percentage of the population, Black folks should be the same percentage of franchisees. But one of the things that we knew previously is that there were a lot of McDonald's franchisees relative to Black entrepreneurs, but they weren't successful. So we had about 200 African American franchisees at the time, but only 20 of them were successful. So there was this revolving door around the Black franchisees. And so we agreed with McDonald's, it's not just that we should have that number of franchisees. McDonald's agreed and achieved the target that we should own the same number of restaurants, and those restaurants on average should produce the same cash flow. Essentially, they agreed that we should have the same opportunity for success. Mm-hmm. Today, less than 20% of Black franchisees are unsuccessful. That's progress. Mm-hmm. That's results. That's parity. Those are opportunities that we can then take, right? And those are the kind of opportunities that enable us to move forward more than just in our businesses as franchisees, but that allows us to hire Black folks in director level roles. That allows us to invest in our communities in ways that we would not have otherwise had access. That level of parity can be a catalyst for change in communities.
Now, I'm curious what your thoughts are on some of the solutions that we're seeing happen, right? So from my chair, what really grinds my gears is when I see, and it's hard to manage it, my truth and my hope, because I see that we're moving the dial forward, right? Mm-hmm. But then I see people who have been doing that consistently, who are knowledgeable there, who have the passion and the wherewithal and the fortitude to get it done. But then I see an organization who says, I need to get someone here. Hey, influencer, hey, celebrity, I'm going to make you head of X, and I'm going to make this big announcement and do this big press push around it. And I'm not saying said influencer celebrity shouldn't seize that opportunity, because I don't know them. They could also doing the work and having the meetings behind the scenes. Everybody doesn't have to talk about everything that they're doing. But how would you feel if, when your dad, a pioneer in his own right, an iconic member of our society, of our culture, from my chair, when his efforts were acknowledged, instead of him being empowered, they said, hey, Felicia Rashad, we want to gift you 15 McDonald's stores and make you a partner. And then from there, we're going to create a McDonald's franchisee program with you as the face of it. Thanks for the note, Reggie.
So I don't think, one, that credit is his issue, right? Because he wants it to work for us. And I think that our leaders need a little bit of that, right? Where, yeah, credit is good, but the truth of the matter is it workable? And even in the case of McDonald's around parity, that doesn't mean that it's been workable for everybody. McDonald's is still a corporation. When my dad was coming up in the 70s and McDonald's was making strides on hiring Black employees, right? McDonald's still had to be taught how to employ Black people, right? We don't do a lot of that. There's not a lot of folks who are out here, either willing participants as a listener, as a corporation, to what could possibly work, or willing participants to hold their feet to the fire to say that what you're attempting to do here, right, is great, but let's usher this in a way that could actually work to produce long-term results. I think that's one of the things that you're getting at in this point, or in the moment that we're in, right? This moment is finite and could be fickle, in that all of these pledges might not produce the results. For example, I have conversations with my friends all the time about Black banks. I think it's great that more of us are starting to bank Black, right? But I, in my business, for the most part, cannot, because they do not service me, right? So if you're Black banks and you can't service the folks who have the greatest access to resources, how are you then going to make the change in the community? Because essentially, you can't bank the job creators, personally or professionally. And those things hurt. So we have to create solutions where those who provide solutions in our community can work, right? And can work to achieve the goals. And I think that's something that you work on a lot in Brunch to Bomb and in We to Bomb.
Yeah, I think that whenever I'm having these conversations, and we have a lot of conversations with potential corporate partners, it's not, for me, it's not bag motivated as an individual. I'm not charged by that. But to me, I want you to invest in the experience of these folks who buy your products, right? Mercedes will, let's say, I believe they do an annual Oscar party, an Academy Awards party, right? The average person there is not driving their car. Their income says, I can drive an Aston Martin. I can build a Lamborghini. Like, I'm not driving a Mercedes, right? These are Hollywood A-listers, stars, you know what I'm saying? Multi-million, millionaires, right? Meanwhile, back at Brunch to Bomb, I have all of these creative millennials who are busting their ass, making six figures, multiple degrees, behind the scenes, the things that are happening at the Academy Awards, regardless if they're a producer on set, whether they're the casting director, the accountant, the financial advisor, the legal team, the doctor. We're all in the world, right? And I'm buying your product. Celebrate me. Make me feel like your product is made for me. I'm not, as an actual actionable consumer, right? I'm not easily influenced, right? If I see my favorite celebrity outside of Beyonce in in an Infinity, I'm not going to say, ooh, I want to buy an Infinity now. I'm not 22 and impressionable. I've experienced life. I've set my means. I've set my goals. So now the differentiator is not, I just bought a new car. And when I was looking at cars, I knew that I wanted to get either the Tesla, I wanted to get the BMW, or if I wanted to get the Range Rover Evoque. And I'm saying this on purpose, not to flex me, but for people to understand the power of our consumerism. Like, no, just because I'm working on this event with McDonald's, do I occasionally enjoy McDonald's? Sure. Does that mean I can't also occasionally enjoy Soho House? No, it doesn't. I enjoy both. Don't box me in, right? So I'm looking at these three cars and I'm really at a toss-up. The packages are all about the same. The benefits are all about the same. It's just between Tesla and the other two. Do I want gas? Do I want to go into charging now? But outside of that, potato, patata. Now, if one of those brands is doing work in my community, if one of those brands is making me feel valued as a consumer at large, I'm going to lean to that. That's going to be my difference maker. That's going to be the tiebreaker, because as millennials, we are more conscious and conscientious about the products that we're buying. I think that mind shift is where we're seeing Buy Black as a whole finally get to where it needs to be, or begin to get to where it needs to be, and see that incremental rise. Hell, I'm got on 5 Black businesses right now. From my socks and up, even my undergarments. Yes, they're Black-owned underwear. Like everything. If you want to do that, if you want to take that thoughtful and conscientious route, right, which you so beautifully articulated in your father's experience with McDonald's and how he was empowered to have that seat, right? If you build it, we will come. I'm here. I have apps. I can find Black businesses. It's not a needle in a haystack anymore. So automatically, that's where I'm at. To your point about the Black bank, if the product is up to par. And that's the thing that I want to talk about, because you're in a service industry, and Brunch to Bomb is still an event, guys. We to Bomb is a community at large. The Brunch to Bomb event is also in the service industry. And so for me, I've leveraged my platform to I'm not a customer is always right type of person, because I'm building a community. So I want you to invest in our product, in our experience. So sometimes I take the extra time to explain something to one of my customers, because to me, they're my community members, so that not only do they understand why a thing is happening, but also they can advocate for it and explain it to those that they have firsthand experience with, where their word of mouth marketing comes into play. And I think that sometimes when we're building things, especially within the Black community, we're not necessarily out the gate, running it at optimum speed. If I started a bank tomorrow, I'm not going to be Bank of America by the end of the week. Like that takes time, years and years of investment to get us from point A to point B. And so What are your thoughts on us culturally, which is where my focus is for this conversation, really proctoring our expectation and investing in our businesses, not only with our dollar, but with our time and true support holistically?
Yeah, so I think that there is a lot there. We talk about circulating dollars in the community, and I think that that's wildly impactful, right? Um, um, and I also think that we have to invite 100% of everyone else's dollars to participate with us at the level that we represent.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things that we do with SEAM, as I said on the top, I'm the CEO of the Cooperative Economic Empowerment Movement, and we exist to really do something about the wealth, not just the wealth gap, but the wealth base, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you look at socioeconomic status, the determinants of socioeconomic status are power and wealth. This country has created dynamics and systems and structures that disenfranchise us, that do not allow us to, as a community, build power and wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And so for us, I think that we have an opportunity to look at not just how we spend money, but how the money that we should be stewarding is spent. So, for example, we have the thing about McDonald's, right? We as McDonald's franchisees are also stewards of McDonald's. So we wanted to steer them in the right way, primarily because they would produce the financial return, and they have found that it happened, that they did produce the financial return. I think we should do the same thing for our government stakeholders, right? We are taxpayers, and we, for the most part, pay taxes at a similar number that's represented to our representative of our population. Yet they don't dole out contracts at the percentage that we are at the of the population, especially not the value of the contracts. How do we hold our government officials accountable to doing that on our behalf? I think that's something that we learned from McDonald's and we are applying through SEAM. In this time, we are finding that there are more municipalities and counties and larger scale government or quasi-government entities that are open and available, not just to the conversation, but to the actions behind making change. Mm-hmm. And so that for me is really, really exciting. While most people are not going to be in a position to make the change with the counties, we do need everybody to pull on the same end of the rope to demand it, mm-hmm. such that those changes will be made, because power concedes nothing without demand. And so we have to be powerful in our unity and speak with one voice, whether that is how we spend our money on the front end or how we demand how the money that other people are stewarding on our behalf is spent.
I think that the use of our voice is super important. And as you mentioned, SEAM is an organization that's really doing a lot of the larger work that's going to change the infrastructure, right? Super important. And I want to remind everyone that's listening, not remind, but share with everyone that's listening, that SEAM is an organization that we're going to have to make sure that Kyle talks about at the close, but something that you can be a part of as well. But when I'm thinking about individual actionable items, right? I think that one of the things that we need to do as individuals in this community, right, is also be willing to have the dialogue like Kyle and I are having right now. It seems very small, but it's much larger than that. And you also need to be able to receive that dialogue as well. I'll share an example. I was just introduced to a small Black business a week or two ago. Saw it on Instagram, on a friend's story, really liked what I saw. Went to the page, I was like, yo, everything on the page was fly. I was just like, wow, the craftsmanship. I literally bought every single item because not only was the craftsmanship of the product, I loved where the money was going. The money was going back into organizations in that person's hometown in Houston. So I'm like, yo, this is dope. I'm excited. I'm down. It's like $500. Like, it doesn't matter, because of that 500, 20% went here. The rest went to a Black business, and I have all this fly gear. Cool. I got down to the transaction and it charged me for shipping. And I said, oh, interesting. Finish the transaction. But I reached out to my friend and I said, hey, do you actually know this guy? Yeah, I do. Cool. Just a heads up, feedback from a marketing perspective. I've already finished my transaction. I don't want my money back. I don't want any refund. But for other customers, this could be a deterrent because generally on these websites, you spend $50, you get free shipping. I just spent $500 and spent another $50 for shipping. Just something to consider because I want them to be successful. I'm invested in their mission now. The quality is there, the product is fire. So like, I would love to give them this information, but before I attempt to do so directly, would it be maybe better received from you? The reason I'm saying that is that I think that sometimes a momentary tough conversation, right? First of all, again, you have to be willing to have that dialogue and you have to be willing to receive that dialogue is one of the ways that each of us can take a situation that seems outside of our control and create not only a pipeline for you to be a returning customer, but for your friends of all shades, sizes, colors, ethnicities, and backgrounds, to Kyle's point, to be a customer, right? I think that too often we are dragging, right, our wins as they're incremental instead of saying, hey, I want to help. And that's what I mean about doubling down and investing in both the short and the long-term solution, because I think that we have business structures, ideas, and concepts that the world can participate in at large. But also, if you're not walking into your own house, nobody else is going to walk into your own house, right? So if we build Brunch to Bomb, which is, no, you don't have to have bottle service, everything's first come, first serve. If you buy a ticket, you'll be treated equally. And then you say, I don't want that. I'm looking for this VIP experience. And you were the same person that was doing this before that wanted something equal to the people. And you know what I'm saying? Like, you have to be able to give and take, right, as we're going on this journey together. Same thing and I learned that from Kyle. I learned that from him as a McDonald's franchisee, because something would go wrong with my order at McDonald's and he would want to know. Not because everything's going to be perfect, but because he's striving to invest in the customer experience. And if I didn't, let's say I didn't know Kyle and I just said, you know what, I'm not going to this store anymore, not knowing that it's a part of this bigger picture, right? So when we do know that it's a part of the bigger picture, I think that we really have to double down in the investment so that we can see things get to the level of icon, so that we can see things that have legacy in our neighborhood, so that we don't see any more of our businesses and our infrastructures die, right? There's no earthly reason why there's no more World on Wheels again. That's something that was within our control.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, go ahead.
One of the things that you were getting at there, I say all the time, and it's almost contrary to what you say, but I'll give you some new, contrary to something you said earlier, but I'll give you some nuance here. I believe that the customer is always right, but the customer is not always correct. And I feel like there's a very big difference between righteousness, the belief that you are correct, and whether or not you are factually correct. And as business owners, I think that we get to, and really people in customer service in general, we get to take the time to understand the difference, right? And so when we get customer feedback, it might not be that the customer is factually correct, but their experience is their experience and we cannot discount it, right? And, you know, in McDonald's, it's always interesting because people treat us like we're the bottom of the earth sometimes. And it's like, how are you just gonna treat me like I'm the scum of you, like I'm the scuff off your shoe? Like, this is like, that's not ever acceptable, right? But their feedback still may be, right? And so, you know, as I train people in my organization, it's, hey, we treat everybody like the feedback that they're giving, whether they're homeless, they're a millionaire, is valuable to us, and we act accordingly on the backside of that. No one can disrespect us. That's not what we're here for. But at the same time, we want everybody to have a perfect experience. And sometimes all they need is a smile and know that they are valued. And their perspective coming to you with a complaint or coming with something to you that you think is invalid really is just saying, can you smile at me today? And sometimes folks need that. In the case of the example that you gave, right? How often is it that a new entrepreneur overlooks something that somebody else might think is 101 level, right? That person's just in it, like they're trying to get it right now. And you know what? They got good quality. They got all these other good things, right? It might not be that he should not charge for the shipping. It might be that he should charge for the shipping and explicitly state, I know that most companies in this space don't charge for shipping when you get to a certain quantity. Our prices are still at such a point where we cannot afford to do that, and we thank you for your patronage.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, your considerations are validated, and he got his extra money because his price point can't support, may not be able to support, including the shipping. And so, I think that there are a lot of ways to skin the cat, and I think your feedback for that individual is valuable. And I think in a broader sense, that's part of how we come together to move forward together.
Right, and that we are aligned. It's starting with the bravery to have a conversation. That is the first step of investment. Right? Hey, I'm not attacking you. I'm doing what I'm doing. I got your back. Just something I observed. So whatever, to your point, multiple ways to skin a cat, whatever the solve is, up to you. That's your thing, right? I'm here regardless, right? And I think that too often we hang our patronage like a carrot at the end of a stick, right? And if you're gonna be somewhere, be somewhere. You know what I'm saying? And something that you said around people's experience, it reminds me of something that we see often on social media, right? You never know what someone else is going through, right? And too often we forget the humanity of a thing, right? Where we could be subconsciously projecting so many things onto a moment, right? Things that we didn't get to say to our partner, our parent, our boss, whomever. There's so many different things that nuance these situations. And I think that when we're in pursuit of the almighty Black excellence, right, we have to approach it with a posture of, I don't know what that pursuit looks like for you, but I see that you're pursuing it, right? So I'm here, I'm riding, I'm down. To your point, I have the same issues infrastructurally with going to black banks, right? But I'm down, I'm here. So maybe my business accounts aren't there yet, but I am going to open the savings account here. With these accounts that I have for my nieces and nephews, I'm going to put these here because you can support these things. Great. And once you get to the point where I need you to be, I'm there too. That double down in investment and being able to have that dialogue with yourself, and in some cases where we have the opportunity to reach across the table and have that dialogue, that's when we can really make change in how we are approaching our imprint here and how we are expanding it to society at large. And I think as you showed in your example, you've done a masterful job at doing that. And I think that's something that not only does it move the dial forward, but it creates a space where your people, your team feels valued, right? Where they have a resonant joy because they know that when they come to work every day, regardless of how someone outside of that circumstance may see their role, they know that I come to a place where I'm respected and I'm seen, and that brings joy to me. And I want to go from there and kind of talk about what that means to you, not only to provide that, but coming from, a legacy entrepreneurial family, right? Thanks to the sacrifices and courage of your parents, both mom and dad, to get to this point. What the expression of joy as a Black person means to you, and what it means to provide that to other people, specifically in your service industry, whether it's through McDonald's or your nonprofit, who may not have felt that they had the opportunity or capacity to do so on a daily basis at their place of employment, beyond their circumstance.
Yeah, Adrienne, thank you so much for that question. I think it's to whom much is given, much is required, in a very real way. I also think that we're all humans. We have first names and last names. Some of us have middle names. And in the grand scheme of things, we're all the same. We are all the same. We all need the same things. We haven't had the same experiences, right? We haven't been blessed with the same talents and skills. And I think that makes us awesome and amazing. I think that people want to be valued. And when they are their commitment level rises across the board. I think as a community, sometimes in our fear and lack of communal self-esteem, we focus on what comes up because of our fear, as opposed to what we can gain through our love.
Wow.
And through how we value people and value their humanity and their brother sisterhood and those things. And I think we see it in our tight-knit communities, because in our small groups, we love and grow together. Even if we're doing dirt, we love and grow together in a very real and profound way, right? If one of us going, we all going to jail. You know what I'm saying? If one of us get rich, we all getting rich, right? Like, and so it's I think a thing, but that happens in our small groups. It's going to be awesome to see how we can move those things to happen in our larger groups. I also think there's another side to that conversation, right? We often place the pressure of progress on our shoulders like we're doing it alone, right? I don't think we have to do that. And my position, you know, people call me Little Reggie all the time, Reggie Jr. I think it's funny because I no longer take that on like it's a challenge. Right? I don't have to be my dad. I don't have to be better than my dad. I don't have to be anything like my dad. And I can still live into the legacy that he has created for our family. Right? But I get to do that being me. I get to do that, creating a pathway through parity so that other people can move forward and move through it. But I'm not going to be able to be him. He's the GOAT for me, right? And so I can't take on that pressure. I don't have to move it all myself. One of the things I think that has been awesome for me is having mentors that I can call that will open a door when I don't have access to the door. Now I have friends that can open the doors, not even my mentors, and those things are really awesome and amazing. And I think sometimes we can't focus on opening the door. We got to call people to open the door so we can walk through it, and we can walk through it with all the things that we bring, so we are successful in that space. Sometimes, you know, when you're working in a corporation, you need to have somebody that you can lean on to deal with the issues and the weight that come with being the only Black person in the department, right? You might not need to fight the racism battles. You might need to lean on somebody to fight those for you, so you can just be present, performing, not for all the Black folks, but just performing, just bringing your best self. And so I think that there's a lot there on both sides of the coin of the question that you asked, and how can we essentially pull on the same end of the rope. The first thing we got to do is commit to the same rope, and then pull.
Yeah, I think it's important that we realize that we're not doing it alone. And I can't think of a more opportune time to shout out my business partner, co-founder of Brunch to Mom, DJ Benjamin Walker, one of my best friends now, because there are a lot of differences in our skill set when we came to this table, and sometimes it was hard to understand at face value what we were bringing to, you know, elevate and grow the organization. But it's the freedom to know that you don't have to do it alone. And it's the diversity in our backgrounds where we can leverage that skill set differently in different moments, right? And it's made profound impact. Also, you know, the other side of when you're not doing it alone is the exposure and visibility you give to the people that you're doing it with, because we don't know what we don't know, right? So, you know, Brunch to Bomb, now We to Bomb, is over 70% Black women as a community. And for me, you know, that says a lot of things, but the thing that I'm going to focus on is the power that we have when we come together, and our overwhelming need for a moment of relief, just a moment of relief, and how things like that. We talk about numbers not lying, right? There's a lot of things that, you know, from consumer CDG reports like you were talking about earlier, there's a lot of statistics we could pull from that, right? That would drive a lot of different thought tanks. But the one thing that we're not looking at is what that number speaks to intrinsically, right? Because we're a space of joy. We're a space of relief. We're a space where you're coming to unplug, and being that those are our numbers. There's a lot of ways that with my business partner and my co-founder being a man that he could approach that, right? But because he's now getting a different perspective through me as a business partner, right? Now I've had the opportunity not only to gain partnership and support, but he's also expanded his palette and understanding where there are battles that I don't have to fight anymore. Because what you're not going to do is deal with my business partner like that. What you're not going to do is disrespect what she's contributing. What you're not going to do is act like she didn't just give you that idea. Like, I have now a bannerman in him as a business partner that he probably couldn't have been in other scenarios without the exposure that I offered in opening that seat and saying, hey, maybe I can do this alone, but should I? Is it the best course of action? Do I want to? Can we get further together? Right? And just extending that vulnerability has helped us to go much further as not only business partners, but now I believe we've evolved into a space where we're community leaders. There's a lot that's happened through the Brunch to Bomb event that made us want to change it to We to Bomb. There are people that have gotten jobs at that event. There are people that have met their life partners. We just had a We to Bomb, Brunch to Bomb wedding last year. We have babies and proposals and business partnerships and people finding places to live, finding their financial advisors, finding their new doctors, finding new businesses to patronage. You know, we've helped small businesses who couldn't afford a storefront get to the place where they can be in storefronts by being here. Head of Tire was selling his hats at brunches every single month, and now he's at Soul Folks here in Leimert Park. He has a fixed station there with his products every single day where you can go buy that, right? And that not only takes money, that takes visibility to grow your consumer base. That takes the courage that comes with knowing people want my product. I am going to feel driven for that. People see me, right? There are spaces that you cannot go to without spitting a certain acceptable aesthetic for Black women. We don't have that here. So when you get to come here at least once a month and you get to express yourself and feel loved upon, that could be the fuel you need for the other 30 days in that month to know that it doesn't matter how you see me. I'm seen. Mm-hmm. I'm very, very seen. And so I think that the resonance of joy really ties to the critical need for visibility. And sometimes just feeling that joy allows you to see your own self with pride. And that beams so loud that other people start to see you. And you start to attract the things that you are desiring. You start to believe that you can manifest. And you start to create the world that you deserve. And consequentially, you create the world that others like you deserve. And you contribute to it with your creations. And I think that as a family, that's something that you guys have done masterfully. And I think that the thing that I'm sure without a doubt that your parents, the Reggie and Renee, are proudest of is that their sacrifices have given you the opportunity to have the self-confidence to say, no, I'm not him, but because of him, I can be me.
Boom.
I can be me. He's created enough space and freedom so that I can be me. So I can define what success looks like for me. I can define what joy looks like for me. I can define what entrepreneurship looks like for me. I can define what Black and Positively Golden looks like for me. And I think, you know, when they ask what I do and who I do it for, it's for that. Because there's nothing wrong with who we are as individuals, as a collective community, as a people. We are not a monolith. We are the most beautiful of mosaics. you can listen to 2 Chainz and sing Mary J. Blige and praise God through Kirk Franklin back to back in your car, and you can do it in public too. You can have egg whites and spinach in the morning so that you can get those abs, and you can have a shot of hen later in the day and I won't look at you any differently. You can go to McDonald's breakfast and go to Mastro's for dinner. It doesn't matter how you show up, how you live your life, and what choices you make. You're always welcome in a fold of the community that you define. And that fold is representative of everything our ancestors have sacrificed for, everything that we've worked hard for and continue to work hard for. Your Black excellence is not exhaustive. It's seen, it's rewarded, it's manifested and manifolded in a way where we're all receiving it and contributing to it. And with that, I just want to say that it is my pleasure to kick off a change and an evolution in what we offer you as a community on the newly named We Too Bomb platform, with a conversation with one of my oldest and dearest friends, been at the first brunch to bomb, and actually was critical in bringing McDonald's into the fold, into how we've partnered with them today, and seeing the possibility and what this event was, and that was more than an event, that the freedom that people were achieving at being in this event, and knowing that when we feel free and seen and we have space for joy, we are unstoppable. Kyle Webb, you are unstoppable. We Too Bomb community, you are unstoppable. And we can't wait to see you when this whole thing is over safely so that we can express that joy together again. I want to thank Kyle Webb. I want to thank Seam. I want to thank Webb Family Enterprises, and I want to thank our presenting sponsor, McDonald's, more specifically the Southern California franchisees, for supporting our efforts consistently and reminding us that we are Black and positively golden. That's all I got. That's all I got. Thank you so much.
Peace. Check us out, www.seem.coop. That's CEEM.coop. For us, it's about parity. So we all have the same opportunities for success. All that stuff that Adrienne was talking about, giving me chills, that's how we doing it.
I hope everybody got some chills, because that wasn't me. You know, I just be a vessel for my guy, G-O-D.
Amen.
All of you with me. We'll get all the information for Seam out, and more information about Black and Positively Golden in this month's newsletter, and also in the post here in the comments. You'll see that as well. So if you're not subscribed to the We Too Bomb newsletter, do so. We've got some exciting things coming up. We're working on a partnership with Amazon that we're excited to talk to you about as well. And we have another great conversation coming up. These will be happening at least once a month here on IGTV, on Zoom, and on Clubhouse. Without further ado, have a wonderful day, and thank you for being a part of the We Too Bomb community. You are Too Bomb, always been, always will be.
Peace and blessings.